a warehouse for mentally ill people, and we need. Fortunately, she and others have taken up some very interesting diversion programs and innovation to try to treat people so they don't end up self-medicating and end up just never getting their problems taken care of. But understanding that criminality is different from mental illness, and we need to do a better job of distinguishing those and then getting people who need the help and want the help some assistance.
It is Senator John Cornyn, Republican senator from the great state of Texas. John, you and I spoke after the midterm, and we talked about sending legislation to Barack Obama faster than we've sent it there for 6-7 years. We wanted to get as many bills on his desk and let him veto them. Then the American people will really see what it is that he's doing. When Harry Reid was helping him and giving him shield and cover and not letting things go to a vote, the president didn't have to veto anything. So the American people, he could actually say, no, I never voted against that, even though he's against it. Now you're sending things there, and for the first time, the Senate actually defunded and tried to repeal Obamacare. Did you know that he would veto it? And is there any chance that there are enough numbers in the Senate to try to override it?
Well, you're exactly correct, Joe. We did expect that the president would never sign a bill passing into law something that repeals his signature legislation, no matter how bad and how big a failure it's been. But accountability is important, and as long as you point out the president never had to veto anything because it never got to his desk, then the accountability really didn't take place. So we did pass a piece of legislation which has now passed the House to defund Obamacare and Planned Parenthood together, and the president has now vetoed those, but there were going to be a series of votes starting in the House on a veto override. But it's going to take 67 votes in the Senate, and I'm unfortunately, we're not going to be able to do that. But I still think it's been a useful exercise because we've told our constituents, we're listening to you, we're doing what you're asking us to do, and then pointing to the responsibility of the president as the one blocking our efforts to get it done.
People's eyebrows went up, John, when you guys said yes to the omnibus. Their eyebrows went up because that funded everything, and then Paul Ryan in the House said, well, we're going to go back and defund Obamacare. We're going to go back and defund Planned Parenthood. We're going to go back and retroactively do these things. Was it a fear of shutting down the government? Because I gotta remind you, and I'm sure you already know this, that even though the Republicans were blamed for shutting down the government last time, and it really wasn't the Republicans, it was the Democrats in the Senate not getting on board, even that happened, you still won the midterm. It really politically didn't hurt. So was that the fear?
Well, no, I think we knew all along that we were going to have to use this process, this budget process known as reconciliation, to get this Obamacare repeal on the president's desk. And we were determined to do that, but recognize that we didn't need to pick that particular fight on the omnibus. Look, the omnibus end-of-the-year appropriation bill is an ugly thing and something that we ought to avoid like the plague. Unfortunately, because of the filibusters by the Democrats of the usual appropriation process, in order to force a negotiation where they got more money to spend, that's the reason we ended up there. But we're doing our best to try to avoid that this next year by returning to a more transparent, open process, and one, frankly, where I think we're going to be able to do a better job when it comes to spending and prioritizing the needs of the country.
It's Senator John Cornyn, Republican, the great state of Texas. Talk to me about the empty chair that you're going to see at the State of the Union address. It's going to be representative of victims of gun violence after the president has, you and I both know, made up a lot of the alleged facts that he's using against people owning guns.
Of course he is. You know, what he wants to do is, frankly, not offer any real solutions like dealing with the mental health issue, which I'm happy to engage with him on. And he wants to issue executive orders or otherwise use government to limit the rights of law-abiding citizens who are not a threat to the public safety. People have a constitutional right to keep and bear arms, to protect themselves and their family and their property, and to use them for whatever legitimate purpose they choose. But the president just continues, I think, to use this as a wedge issue. This is, the State of the Union has always been a little bit of show business, maybe more than a little bit of show business, even dating back to Ronald Reagan and others when they'd have people in the gallery. But I think this is going to be perhaps the most over-the-top one you can imagine. I think there are going to be some 20-something people that the president and the administration have invited, but different members of the